Hey y'all! Happy Friday 13th, Freaky Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. However you want to say it. I thought it'd be fun if we got in here and did a not very spooky build, but darker themed. I've done a couple of different spooky builds, so I didn't want to lean into that. I wanted to do something different, still dark, but definitely fun. So what I've done is recreated this Victorian house. I found this blueprint, this layout, thought it was really cool. Has not only the layout of the house, but also an idea of what this house would have looked like. I don't know necessarily that this picture is old, but I thought it was really cool. And if it is old, that's really awesome. I love that it calls the bedrooms chambers and it has a parlor and a sitting room, which I actually had to learn what the difference was for those so I could decorate accordingly. It worked out really well recreating this house. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I've tried some different layout builds before and struggled. This one just turned out so cool. I only really struggled when it came to the round room in the top floor, and that's because round rooms in The Sims, they don't always work out. So I just needed that round room to be smaller than what The Sims wanted to let me do. So that's fine. I ended up just using the octagonal room, and it turns out perfectly. It doesn't have to be round. It really would have been cool if it was round, but that's fine. I'm not worried about it. I actually really loved roofing in this build. I don't always play around with all the different types of roofs, but this build really let me do that. It was just so much fun getting to mess around and play with all the different roofs, and I love how it turns out, and I hope to be able to continue doing some mixed roofs in the future, because obviously houses have different layers and everything, and so the roofs can look different. I don't know. I tend to stick to one thing, so it was really fun. Now, I try to keep this as close to the picture as I can. Obviously, there are some differences, and that's fine. I don't do all the roof decor. I do give a chimney and things, but as for the upside down corbels, I don't know if they're still called corbels, or the little pointy thing that comes out of the pointy roof. I don't add that. I kind of looked into it and I wasn't sure how to get it up there, so I just didn't. I first go with these really cute Strangerville windows. I love added little details in them, but when it came time to change it to what I wanted it to look like, I could only do dark brown windows with these, and that just wasn't what I wanted. I wanted black or dark gray windows, so I do end up changing them, but that's fine. When we get in here and start doing the internal layout and that floor plan, it is a little bit of a struggle because, you can have, if you do The Sims, if you play in The Sims and build in The Sims, it's just different Sims versus real life, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But the layout works out really well. It is play tested. You can get through to everything. You can use everything. So there's not a problem. It just obviously would have looked a little different if The Sims allowed you to do walls on the half tile, It still works out. For the fireplace, I wanted to use this older fireplace. I just didn't like the layout of it, and it didn't feel grand to me. So my thought process with this was, yes, it's a Victorian house, and yes, I wanted to decorate it in a vintage style. I definitely wanted to bring in modern pieces. So there's a study upstairs. There's a computer. It's the cottage living typewriter looking computer. Still a computer nonetheless. There are things that obviously you wouldn't find in a Victorian era that you're gonna find in this house. I figure it's just a family who loves this Victorian style and obviously is alive in a modern day time. I put Vlad up there at first. He does not stay there. He instead goes to the dining room in his giant fashion and takes up the whole wall with his giant portrait staring at you while you eat, and you'll just have to deal with it. I definitely stuck to a darker theme with this house. Didn't want to necessarily go spooky with it or scary or anything, but I definitely stuck with reds and golds and black, and I like it. I think it works out perfect. The only room that gets more of a color variant is the nursery, and it gets purple, which I thought was really fun. That baby is the baby of the family, so she gets purple in her room. This is the dining room. I wanted it really grand. I love the layout of this house. Think about in that era, they had people serving their dinner and cooks and people on staff. So if you think about like going to the kitchen, maybe like that's their entrance. They go in from the back porch, go into the kitchen, cook, and then go through the pantry to serve it in the dining room. That maybe the employers aren't necessarily going to the kitchen or even the pantry. You know, they have their own entrance into the dining room. And that thought was really cool to me. If this reference picture isn't old, if it's a recreation of something, I really like how it still stayed in with that thought of what it would have been like back in that age. Then getting upstairs, I really enjoyed how it called these rooms chambers instead of bedrooms. I thought that was really fun. It does call for 4 chambers. However, I only give it 3. I started out thinking I was going to do 4 chambers, and then I just decided it needs a study. You need somewhere that's going to have like your bookcases, and I just wanted to go that route with it. This is the master bedroom. I really wanted to do a window seat right here, but obviously we only have more modern looking window seats. So I end up going with this little like gothic love seat, which works really well. Would have loved to have an actual built-in, but that's not the way it goes, right? This right here is a teenage bedroom. That's where I went with it. I give them the little toy box, but it's fine. It's like they're keeping hold of their childhood memories, but I do make it more of a teenage room with the clutter and everything. I start going in, adding rugs, trying to bring in a little more of the decoration, how this is going to look. It makes a difference when you add in the rugs. So I wanted to go ahead and get rugs on the floor. You know, still waiting to do wallpaper and flooring, just trying to get an idea of how it's going to look so I know what I want the walls to look like. This house only has 1 bathroom, and that's just the way that the floor plan is set up. I could have added in an extra bathroom, maybe taken out the pantry, changed up doors, but I didn't. I think it's probably pretty fitting for a Victorian home to have only 1 bathroom. I kept it as that. And it is play tested, so the bathroom looks a little snug. I do have things kind of shoved off into the walls a little bit. So this is the study that I created. I used the booknet kit. Obviously those aren't like Victorian style bookshelves, but it didn't matter. Like I said, it's a modern family living in this Victorian house and kind of living into that world. So we stuck with the booknet kit. I really wanted the built-ins, and I like the way they look. Here we are back in the nursery, just kind of moving things around, deciding the layout, how it's going to look. Then I'm going in and adding the flooring. I'm using this dark wood flooring. I think it looks really pretty. It looks older, and I use it in every single room in the house except for the bathroom, which I use a red tile for. And then going in, adding wallpapers, kind of changing it around. I go from room to room, deciding what's going to be best. Wanted to stick to this red and black theme with touches of gold, and I do that pretty well, and I'm quite happy with the wallpapers. I wanted them to still look very kind of old school, something you would find back then, I guess. But they're really pretty, and they add to the house, and that was really the key. I wanted these darker red and black wallpapers to really add to this darkness of the house. Going in and kind of sorting clutter that I found, little pieces, finding what pictures are going to go on the wall and how it's going to continue adding to this house. Little bits change after this. It's not a whole lot. The house is pretty set in what it's going to look like. There's obviously things that still need to be done, clutter to be added, but the basic layout of every room stays the same. I added swords and things like that around. I thought that was kind of fun. Going into this nursery, adding lots of gold details, very regal and royal, and I thought that was kind of cool. You know, that's the baby of the family. When we get outside and I start adding wallpapers, now if you look at the picture, it shows paneling as well as a siding look to it. So I really wanted to have a good siding and a good paneling. And so I go through a lot of different swatches and a lot of different wallpaper, trying to find what's going to look best. I have this like obvious Tudor style paneling, and I'm like, no, that's not what I want, you know, but I wanted that paneled look. And so I end up going with, oh my goodness, is it Luxury Party, I believe? which sounds crazy, but it works. It works really well. Going in and changing these little details, darkening up the entire house, all those little things, finding which windows I want to go to. I don't stick to those Stranger Field windows, like I said, and I end up changing them all to a really cool base game one. I think it looks really good. I actually really like the windows. Like, I wish it had a little more detailing, but it's fine. Then I go with this really cute scalloped roof. That's kind of what it looked like to me. At this point, where it's really coming together, I think that it has the potential to look weird when you think of what it is, like luxury party wallpaper. Then I use this like scallop siding on the side, little details like that, just to make the rest of the house pop. I go in, add columns, and bring them up to kind of cut off the paneling versus siding. Get that chimney in there because you know you need it, and I was really impressed with this one. Moving it around, and now we're going to get into landscaping. I wasn't sure exactly what kind of landscaping I wanted to go for, how this was going to look. I know I wanted some nice dark statues, and then it hit me. I'm doing a labyrinth, and I don't know where this idea came from. It just did, and I'm super in love with the way it turns out. Like, are you kidding me? So much fun. So really, the labyrinth is on one side of the yard, and it kind of stretches from the back to the front, and you can get through all the different spots. There's no closed off spots. There are dead ends, of course, but you can get everywhere. I play tested this, like I said, so your Sims can literally go everywhere and go view all the different statues, fountains. I put some topiaries in. I actually put them over on the other side and then decided to move them into the maze, so that way you're able to go view them as well. I think it's really cool. It was a lot of fun doing this. I cut it off on this one side, so if you come out through that back door, you've got a little graveyard, and then you can go in and sit around the fountain and enjoy that space as well. And then here we're just really adding finishing touches. Want this build, you can have it for yourself on the gallery. My name is CatXThrash, just like my YouTube name. I hope you're having a great Friday the 13th wherever you are. And if you're catching this later, just have a good day, whatever. Bye, y'all.